Welcome back to Project Sunday. So today we are dealing with the long-awaited Barbie Green Ear project. Now, when I first dealt with Barbie projects, and we're going back a good 2 years, the one thing I said I was never going to get into was taking the head off the doll. But we're going to do that. All right. When we come back, I will explain why I have always been so reluctant to show you how to do that. So every little kid who ever had a Barbie doll took the head off the doll, right? What's the big deal? Oh, well, you just pop that thing off. I was corresponding with Colleen from over on the SueMe Angels Facebook page about Barbies this morning, and she said, oh yeah, I used to pull the head off my doll. She would take her Barbie head, stick it on the Ken body. She was very creative. For me, I had a blonde and a brunette, and if I felt like switching out their outfits, switching out their heads was so much easier. Everybody did this, and Mattel eventually figured that out. And as a consequence, they made some adjustments to the doll body. So, let me show you a couple of neck knobs. The neck knob is the part of the doll that goes into the head. Now, when you see the neck knob on the left, you can see it's sort of a disc shape. That's from the earliest dolls. The first 5 Barbies had disc shape neck knobs. Starting with number 6, they went over to the neck knob you see on the right. Now, the one on the right, actually, I pulled that from a site that does Barbie repair. So you're seeing a repaired neck knob, but that's the general shape. And, of course, when we start looking at the doll that I've been working on, because she is a 6, she has that modified neck knob. It actually got even more rounded and more user-friendly over time. But, oh, and by the way, I think when I was filming this, I said she was a 5. She's not. She's a 6. And I'm not quite sure why I said that. But anyway, that was a mistake. She is a 6. Mattel eventually smartened up to the fact that kids were doing this. And they actually began marketing heads only. So let me show you some of this. So we're going to start taking a look. This is the Fashion Queen Barbie. This would have been, I think, 1964. Fairly early doll. You could get a full Fashion Queen Barbie, or you could get just the head and the wigs. And then you would take the head off your other doll, put this on. Yeah, they sold it this way. Then we've got Hair Fair Barbies. This is a little later in the 60s. Again, they were sold as heads with stuff. In this case, it was hair pieces. So Mattel was extremely clear about this. The problem is these are toys. They're not dialysis machines. A Barbie cost $3, well, $2.97 to be exact, when she first came out. They were not designed to last forever. Certainly no one thought there would be a collector's market some 70 years down the road. And in fact, the collector's market started very early. By the 1970s, there were people collecting the earliest Barbies. And by the 1990s, the collector's market was very well established for the early dolls. Problem is, the dolls were not meant to hold up indefinitely. So the vinyl degrades. When it gets older, it becomes more fragile. So you go around popping the heads off dolls now, and you can do a lot of serious damage. So let me show you the kind of damage you could be in for. These are neck splits, and we've got a whole variety of different kinds of neck splits going here. This is what happens when you pop the head off your doll. Now, there are adhesives on the market today that can do a very good job of repairing a neck split, but that doesn't alter the fact that you're destroying the value of your doll. A doll with a repaired neck split is going to be worth a fraction of a doll that is intact, that doesn't have the neck split to begin with. So, the good news about those adhesives is sometimes when you have the very, very beginnings of a neck split on the interior portion of the doll's head, it doesn't go out to the surface of the doll's face, a good adhesive can salvage it. Once you've actually got a visible split, you've got a major problem. So this is why I was so reluctant to get involved in showing you how to take the head off your doll, because I don't want anybody damaging their doll and then turning around and saying, she told me to. Taking the head off a doll is something that you should really practice on inexpensive dolls first. I will tell you, and I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to anyway. I take the heads off. Anytime I get a doll, it's the first thing I do. I take the head off as part of my examination of the doll, because I want to make sure I know what I'm handling, and I want to make sure I know what I'm selling too. If I have a doll that has the beginnings of a neck split, I don't want the new owner to find this out, 6 months down the road and then say, gee, I can't believe that woman sold me this doll. That does happen, by the way. You do see hidden damage, especially if you buy a doll not from a collector or a dealer, but from a private individual who doesn't even know to look for it. Taking the head off your doll is dangerous business. Any time you do it, remember, these dolls are 70 years old now. Anytime you do it, you're running a risk. The older and more expensive the doll, the greater the risk you are running. So if you're going to do it, and I'm not advising you to do it, my advice is don't. But if you're going to do it, what you want to do is heat up that head and neck. You're not going to do this with a hairdryer, even though I've seen some people say, oh, do it with a hairdryer. No, don't do it with a hairdryer. It won't get hot enough. You want to plunge that head in boiling water and leave it there for a couple of minutes. You want it completely warmed up. That is your best protection. And then you squish the head and just sort of rock it off carefully. And same thing when you put it back on. Heat it up, rock it back on, and squeeze, rock it back on carefully. You can do so much harm to your dolls just by handling them the same way you handled them when you were 7 or 8 years old and first got them. And just because you got away with it when the vinyl was new does not mean that the 70-year-old vinyl is going to respond in the same way. So, now that we've got that whole caveat out of the way, greenier is what we're dealing with today. This is a chemical process. It's a chemical reaction. Mattel used a number of different kinds of vinyls. And in the video, I mentioned that number 5s often had greasy faces. The face isn't actually greasy. The number 5 dolls, they used a certain formulation on the head that is actually breaking down. The doll head is leaching some of the chemical compounds, and it appears to be like a greasy face. We can deal with that. That's like that can be dealt with. Not permanently. That's one of those things. That doll is degrading. but we can sort of remove the greasiness. We're never going to stop the process. Eventually, number 5s are just going to decompose. Who knows how long that'll take, but we can keep them looking good in the meantime. That's for another video. What we're dealing with today is the green ear. That is another chemical reaction. The dolls came with earrings. The earrings were little pins with something on the end. In the case of dolls from, say, 5 onward, it was a little pearl. Before then, 1, 2, 3, and the early 4s had hoop earrings. Still, it's that same metal, and it went right into the doll's head. If the earring was left in too long, the chemical reaction started taking place. The doll began picking up a green color. This is pretty nasty, and it's one of the worst problems, other than a neck split, that you can face when dealing with a vintage doll. Everybody has their own little trick. Oh, I use Desitin baby ointment. I use CLR. Isn't that CLR? Like calcium lime rust remover? No. Here's the problem. Because it is a chemical reaction, we're not scrubbing surface dirt off anything. If you start using one chemical on your doll, it's not safe to use another. You could have a very unpredictable chemical reaction. It could end up eating away the vinyl of your doll. It could create a whole new world of discoloration. Whatever you start with, that's what you finish with. The most reliable product is Removes-It. And I'll show you that as we look at the video. And it comes from a company called Twin Pines of Maine. And that's the state of Maine, M-A-I-N-E. And because there are so many Twin Pines out there, be sure to put Twin Pines of Maine in the search engine. Last time I got Removes-It, it was about $11 or $12 for that little container, plus shipping. It's not cheap. You may be tempted to say, oh, well, I can go out to the grocery store and get Desitin for $2 or CLR. Don't. Yes, it is expensive. It is the one that will work. The company has changed hands, I think twice, since I started using this product, because this is a proprietary formula. No one else has it. So if you want to get it, this is where you're going to have to get it from. I think they do have a couple of distributors around here and there, but definitely this is the one you want. Others might work, might not work. I've seen varying results from other products. None as good as you'll get with Removes-It. I don't get anything from them for saying this. It's just a well-known fact in the vintage Barbie world that this is the product you use. And of course, if you're watching this video, I am assuming that you're sort of new to doll restoration, and this is definitely just a nudge you need in the right direction. So, let's take a look at the process. All right, we are dealing with a doll here. As you can see, early Barbie. She has some pretty bad green ear. Also, she's very grubby. Now, I hope you'll notice the difference between these two legs. This one I have just scrubbed up. This one still has all of the original filth on it. As you can see, the doll actually does scrub up very well. We have another problem here. If you'll recall from last time, the doll's legs were not straight. And we're going to do a little more work correcting her stance. We got one of the legs, this one, to go straight. We're going to need to work on that one a little. Not a big deal. That's actually a fairly easy job. What we are going to work on right now is getting that head off, because this is called green ear. This is what it looks like. This is a really, really bad case. What green ear comes from is a chemical reaction between the vinyl they used to make the dolls and the metal in the dolls' earrings. Now, the earrings were little pins, almost like straight pins, with a little pearly bit on the end. And that was for this model. Earlier dolls had hoop earrings. Same thing happens. The metal reacts with the vinyl and produces this weird green. So, the first thing we want to do is get the doll's head off. Now, I've talked to you folks about this, and I've said this is dangerous. Don't do it, don't do it. But we're going to do it. What I have here is about 3/4 of a cup of water. I let it boil, and I let it cool down for a minute. And here we go. What we have is the doll. And notice the water level against the doll's face. The entire head needs to go in, because we are not only softening the vinyl of the head, we are softening the vinyl of the neck knob as well. And we are going to leave Barbie in there for a couple of minutes, because we want this vinyl nice and warm. Ordinarily, I would not suggest you leave anything in one of these jadeite uranium glass measuring cups. If she were human, we wouldn't do this. But it's perfectly safe for the doll. The doll will not be glowing in the dark, and quite frankly, she's so damaged anyway, it probably doesn't matter much. When you boil your water, do it on the stovetop and not in the microwave. A microwave oven can heat water past 212 degrees. So you want to make sure you're doing it on the stovetop. And we're just going to let her sit here for a while and then come back when she's really had a chance to soak through and the vinyl's had a chance to heat up both the head and the neck knob. Okay, here is our doll. We are going to take it out of the measuring cup. I'm just going to wipe it off a little. And now we're going to remove the head. And I need 2 hands for this. The doll's head, by the way, is very hot, which is as it should be. We want it to be nice and hot. All right, I'm going to squeeze the head a little. Can you see that? Just squeeze it and gently take it off. There we go. All right. Now, please notice the neck knob on this. We have some green on the neck knob. That should come off fairly easily. I don't think that's going to be much of a problem. But this is a later neck knob. And the shape of the neck knob tells us that our Barbie is number 5. A lot of the number 5s had greasy faces. This one doesn't. That's good. Now, we let this dry off for a little bit. Remember, when you remove the doll's head, always soften it with hot water, then squeeze the head to sort of elongate that opening and then gently take it off. Never grab the head and pull it off. Just do not do that. All right. next thing we are going to do is we're going to take some of this. This is called Removes It. This is what you're going to use to get rid of the green. This is the only thing you're going to use to get rid of the green. And yes, I know it is expensive. Yes, I know it is hard to get. But it's the only one that really works reliably. Now, what I have here is just a Starbucks coffee stirrer. And I am going to start by just slapping some of this on the green area. I'm not going anywhere near the portion of the doll that is painted. The reason for that is Removes It will take the paint off the doll. So we don't want that. So get out here where you can see it a little better. I am just slapping this stuff all over the doll. Now what's going to happen, and this is why you're going to use Removes It rather than another product. Removes It leaches the green out of the vinyl. When I start scraping this gunk off, it's going to be green. It's going to have absorbed the green from the vinyl. Now, everybody has their own little secret special way of getting rid of green here. This is the only one I know of that actually works. So, there we go. Removes It. That is from Twin Pines of Maine. And if you go looking for it on the internet, just be sure you put in Twin Pines of Maine. Put the whole title in. There are a lot of places called Twin Pines. There are a lot of products called Removes It. So, Removes It, Twin Pines of Maine. It's the only place you can get it. Okay, this is going to sit for a while. Now, this could take a couple of days. It could take a couple of weeks. What's going to happen is I'm going to let the dye, well, it's not really dye, it's sort of that chemical reaction. I'm going to let that seep into the Removes It compound, take it off, and apply it again. You can speed up the process a little bit by putting the doll in a sunny window while this is working. But don't do anything like sticking the doll in a microwave or an oven or under a heating pad or anything like that in order to heat it up. A little heat is okay. A lot of heat will damage your doll. So just remember, sunny window is fine. Oven, no. And while we're working on this, I'm just going to scrub up the doll. As I said, I had already scrubbed this leg up. Now we're going to do this leg. And I'm just going to hold the camera in my hand while I do it because putting it on a stand got very, very wobbly. So, here, just so you can see how it is to get it clean. Over here is where I didn't scrub. Over here is where I did. It will come up relatively easily. So I'm going to do that. I just use ordinary scrubbing powder. And I'm not worried about scratching the doll. First of all, this is not a Brillo pad. It's just a plastic scrubby. The doll probably does have some superficial surface scratching. But we'll deal with that when we've got her all cleaned up. Okay, so the doll is clean. Now remember all that green mess that was around the neck knob? Here we go. All gone. I can see a little bit of residue on the little flash. That little bit of extra plastic that comes out of the mold, it's called flash. I can see a little bit of green residue there, very little at all. And of course, I just got that off with soap and water. It was just kind of sitting there like a bit of paint on the surface. It hadn't even soaked in. So, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this head. Okay, I wiped most of the Removes It off onto a Kleenex. Ordinarily, I would let it sit a lot longer than just 10 minutes, but I wanted you to see how much of the green stuff comes off, just soaks into the compound. I will continue to do this until I get the doll to an acceptable level. Now, what you have to be mindful of when you watch the process is always keep an eye on the doll. It's very easy to just forget about the doll because, you know, you smear the stuff on, you set it aside. Always go back and check. If there seems to be any degradation at all in the vinyl, stop. If there seems to be any damage, if paint is coming off, anything like that, again, stop. Ordinarily, I would say a doll even this bad should probably be cleaned up within a couple of weeks. And as you can see, there's plenty in this tub. I could probably do half a dozen dolls. So, this is going to be an ongoing process. Meantime, I have dealt with the doll's stance. I'm probably going to have to do a little more work on this. I think what I may need to do is just brace the doll's legs a little more carefully next time. Let her sit in water, hot water, for quite a while, take it out, and then reshape her legs. The stance is okay. It's a little wide for what I want, and of course, this leg is starting to turn back in again. So, we're going to take care of that, and then we're going to revisit. So, before I put my next coat of Removes It on the outside of the doll's head, what I've done is I've taken my little Starbucks stirrer, the doll's head back up here. I used the small tip and shoved some inside of the doll's head along the interior area around the bottom of the head. Now, this will get it out of the inside, but keep in mind this is relatively thin vinyl, and we want to get as much of it off as possible. So going at it from the inside is not a bad idea. It's not necessary, but it's something that I do because I think it speeds up the process. So what I'm going to do is the same thing you saw me do before. Just layer some of this on and wait until we get some results. In the meantime, I'm going to go get the doll body and show you where we've gone to on that. Okay, so here is our doll head with another blasting of Removes It all over it. I don't feel the need to be conservative with my use of this product. You get a lot in a little jar, and it does not have an indefinite shelf life. You need to use this stuff up within 6 months. And generally, I probably will throw 3/4 of it away anyway, and then just get some new when I need it again. But yeah, I don't feel the need to be stingy with my use of it, so it doesn't trouble me to use quite a lot. I probably don't need that much, but as I say, it's there. I'm going to use it. Now let's take a look at our body. Our body is now clean. We've got a good stance on the legs, and we will talk about that when we get together in front of the camera. Now, as you can see, we stopped with the process still ongoing. We will check back afterward, but I wanted to take you along in real time, which is what I do with all these videos. I don't start, like a month ago and gradually take it along and say, oh, here you go, here's the whole process. No. If it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks, I'm not going to try to hide that by doing, time-lapse photography. No. If it takes that long, we're going to take that long doing it. This could take weeks. It could take months. And the fact is, at the end of the day, I might not get all the green out. That is just the way it works. I wish I could say, oh yeah, even if it takes forever, all that green's going to be gone one day. Maybe not. It's a chemical reaction. And the chemical reaction is affected by all kinds of things. How long the earring remained in the doll, what conditions the doll was stored in, if it was in a warm place, if it was in a cool place, etc., etc. You just never know. Once again, we're dealing with 70-year-old toys that were not made to last this long. However, one thing I will say is, when I'm through with this, removing this doll's green ear, it will be much better than it was when it started. I've used this product, so I know that. Is it going to be fantastic? Is it going to be perfect? I don't know. We'll see. But we'll see together. And there was one more thing that I wanted to mention. I said when I was doing the video that I would mention this. Well, actually, 2 more things. All right. There's always something I'm leaving out. So, when you reshape a doll's limbs, as I did with the doll's legs, the easiest way to do it is plunge the doll's legs in boiling water, leave it there, reshape them, run it under cold water to let it set up. So the legs, when they come out of the boiling water, will be floppy like little dead fish. Run it under cold water until they're firm and hard again. That's usually your best guarantee of getting a good shape that will take. That's 1. 2, I said I'd tell you how to get rid of superficial scratches. We're going to do this on another video, but just to give you the heads up on that, because I threw it in, we might as well talk about it. Brasso. It doesn't have to be Brasso, by the way. That's just the cheapest metal polish out there. And it's been on the market for, gosh, I'm pretty sure the GIs were using that to shine up their belt buckles in the Second World War. Brasso's been around forever. Any good metal polish will take the scratches out of vinyl. Just throwing that out. However, you have to be careful in how you use it. It will take out light, superficial scratches. What it will also do is it will polish the surface to a nice shine. You don't want a nice shine on your Barbie dolls. So if you use it to take out scratches, you have to go over the scratched area lightly. You don't polish the daylights out of it because you're not looking for, a new car finish on your doll. You're just looking to get rid of some superficial scratches. So we'll do this on a video at some point in the future, but because I mentioned it, I did want to let you know, so that if you have an old, not valuable doll, let's put it that way, and you want to do a little experimenting and see if you can get some superficial scratches out, go right ahead. Also, if you have other plastic or vinyl items, brass polish will take the scratches out. And frankly, with some of those other items, you might actually want the nice high finish polish. All right, let's scoot on over to the SueMe's Angels Facebook page. Check out the giveaways. Stick around for the fellowship. Great bunch of people. I'm sure you'll like it. And we are going to take a look at a little slideshow on our way out. I will see you all this evening for another Just Chattin'. Thursday night, again, for Just Chattin', and back to thrifting on the weekends. So, have a terrific day.